Welcome to this episode of Lead the Machine podcast, where today's leaders and tomorrow's talk about the human side of AI at work. I'm your host, Kirsten Marr, and today's guest is someone I'm really excited to welcome, Ivan Latinishin. Ivan and
Thank
I had the opportunity to work together at Insurity, a top software provider for insurance companies. Ivan was the chief product officer running the core software product portfolio, and I was the general manager and chief analytics officer leading the analytics product portfolio. And what made that partnership special is that we were intentionally working together on how software and analytics come together to create better outcomes for customers. We share a conviction that analytics make software smarter, not as an add-on, but as a core capability. That belief didn't come out of nowhere for Ivan. He had already seen the power of data-driven platforms during his time running product at Medidata, where data was foundational to both product strategy and go-to-market in life sciences. So if we zoom out a little bit, Ivan is an executive with more than 25 years of experience building and scaling SaaS platforms across insurance, financial services, life sciences, and global supply chain e-commerce. He's held roles including Chief Product Officer, Head of Product and Strategy, and Chief Technology Officer, leading global cross-functional teams across product, engineering, marketing, and operations for public, private equity, and venture-backed environments.
you.
Today, Ivan is Chief Product and Marketing Officer at Allview Systems, an investment software firm. At Allview, he's taking that long-standing vision one step further, embedding AI directly into the product offering in thoughtful, intentional ways. Not AI for hype's sake, but AI that's grounded in strong data foundations, real workflows, and clear customer value. One of the things I've always respected about Ivan is that he's both visionary and deeply pragmatic. He thinks big about where products and platforms need to go, but he's equally disciplined about how to get there through clear product roadmaps, strong operational execution, and really tough prioritization decisions. He's also incredibly customer centric. Ivan is particularly skilled at soliciting customer feedback that doesn't just reinforce today's pain points, but helps customers step back and think bigger about where their business is headed and what capabilities they're going to need next and how technology can enable that future. So in this conversation, we're going to talk about what it really takes to build AI-ready platforms, why monetizing AI requires discipline, how customer advisory boards can be used as strategic tools rather than validation theater, and why governance, data strategy, and human judgment remain essential as products become more intelligent. So Ivan brings this rare combination of product depth, operational rigor, and lived experience leading transformation at scale, which is never easy and always messy. And I'm excited to share this conversation with you. So let's get into it. Ivan, welcome to Lead the Machine.
Yeah, thanks, Kirsten. That was a great introduction. Thank you for doing that. That was better
Well,
than I could have ever done myself. So I appreciate it.
yeah, you
Yeah.
bet. Well, you've earned it. So
Well, thank
maybe
you.
let's talk just a little bit more, kind of about your story and how you see this moment given your experience. I mean, you've been building these data-driven SaaS products for decades across multiple industries, and now you're building for the AI shift. And one of the things I always love to talk about here is giving people context about tech transformation has always been a thing.
Hmm.
And we've always, gone through, some, and in our lifetime, some pretty amazing tech innovation. I mean, there was on-prem to SaaS, there's, in the cloud and the
There was the
internet. I mean,
internet.
there's so many things. I mean, we were
Yeah.
younger, but even the personal computer. I'd love your take on how companies need to prepare for AI versus all the other transformations we just mentioned.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot to that. I think what's interesting about AI right now is, when you look back over your career, my career, we went through all these iterations. There was um, the on-prem, as you said, to the cloud and mobile, and there was the internet, and there was the use of databases and client server, all that stuff. They were really all about sort of where you use the software. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And how you accessed it. And what's interesting about AI is all about what the software is. It's a
Mhm.
fundamental shift. It's really like I don't want to learn how to use complex workflows, and I don't really want to use and have to train on this software anymore. I just want to tell it what I need and let it do the work for me. So the expectation of what software with AI is now is a totally different shift from any of those permutations that we've been through.
Yeah, what
Yeah.
do you think that means in terms of like how we prepare and move forward?
Yeah. I can tell you, from what I've seen so far, we're taking an approach where, just to give you a little bit of background about Allview, I mean,
Sure.
Allview is a business that was formed when Vista acquired two companies and brought them together as one. And
And
so a
just for
lot
if
of
people don't know, Vista is one of the largest private equity firms in the on the globe.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry, I should
Yeah,
have
that's okay.
explained that. But we back in about 2019, they acquired a company called Black Mountain Systems, another called Alta Returns, and they brought them together with the vision of having full operational coverage of the alternative investment lifecycle. So a lot of work has been going into integrating these businesses and creating a true platform and real-time interfaces and all that. So what we've been doing though, in order to prepare for AI, is we've implemented a data platform which allows us to bring in all product data across all of our different products, to bring in data from third parties, right? And to have a consistent data structure and normalization of the data, which is absolutely critical for AI. Now, what our clients have been telling us through different channels, including an advisory board that we created, is that they have challenges, I guess I should say, across their entire domain of technology that they use around data management, around automation, and the use of AI to solve problems like training employees and streamlining tasks and providing more insights into information and all the documents and data that they try to wrangle. And then the need for data analytics, which is insights and benchmarking, and how are we doing compared to others, and what could we be doing as we're looking at structuring a fund a certain way. Are there things that other funds have done that we should know about as we're evaluating our own opportunities? So what I see now is the use of AI to help solve all these problems. And what we're trying to figure out a way to do is plug it into that platform so that it just becomes part of the product. It's just in the workflow.
Mhm.
It's not meant to be like this add-on over here off to the side that you need to go and figure out a way to interact with. It just needs to be part of the product. And over time, our products will evolve to where the interface to our products will no longer be any individual product. It'll be a layer, a user interface that sits above it, where product workflows are agentified and automated and exposed to that, where you'll interact with your data through a prompt, whereas in the
Mhm.
past you'll have to go do a query or run a
Mhm.
report or do something like that. And as you're looking at your data and you're trying to understand what your next move should be or your next process should be, comparative analytics and benchmark and peer cohort data will help you make better decisions and help automate your tasks as well. It's not
So
that far off. It sounds a little crazy maybe, but
I know, but
enterprise software is going to change dramatically.
it has to. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, I think the traditional enterprise, and I've been saying this and writing about it, it is limited in its time
Yeah.
span. You evolve, adapt or die. Um, but if we if we go back to the, okay, well, then what do companies need to do differently to prepare? If I extract from what I heard you say, it is about the data, and
Yeah.
it is about making the investments in data that have always been hard for companies to make, and I understand why they're hard to make. They're hard to
Hmm.
make because data's a disaster in almost every company. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, it
this
is.
huge big spaghetti bowl of just really hard stuff to unwind, and it doesn't in and of itself have ROI.
Hmm.
It's your path to ROI, and maybe AI, if I just extrapolate what you're saying, maybe AI is the justification because it is the ROI that will come from getting your data in order. If
Hmm.
I were to say, what do companies need to do to prepare? I would kind of boil it down to that point that you made. What do you think?
Yeah. 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 I think that's right. I mean, for us, and I've seen this at a couple places where I've worked, you've got to get your data together, right? I mean, you really, as you said, people have a real challenge getting data, getting data in a central place even is a challenge, right? Like, do you need
Mhm.
a data warehouse? Do you need a data lake? So
A
there's a
lake
lot
house.
of just, yeah, lake house, whatever,
Yep.
there's a lot that's a huge challenge for many companies because those projects can go sideways really quickly.
Mhm.
But it's an essential um, solution that you need to figure out how to solve for in order to get AI to work. So it's bringing data in, it's normalizing data, it's it's making it so that AI can understand it even. And I don't know how you shortcut that. I mean, that's just work,
Can't.
it's
You have to
work,
do it.
and it is a hard ROI for people to justify. But it's necessary. So companies like my company, Allview, I mean, rather than every individual client trying to figure out how to do that for themselves, we take on the work to do that. So the we're defining data models, and we're defining ways to bring data in and master data so that we have a common model so that AI can understand it.
Yeah.
Um,
And
one of the big,
you and I were working on that together, at Insurity. It still had, had ways to go,
yeah,
but we had the
yeah,
similar idea. But you actually also, I'd love for you to kind of bring in your story from metadata because I think this is where, one
yeah,
area where you really saw it and you got to see it from the ideation through to
yeah,
actually being a core part of the product strategy where it did drive revenue, it did drive sales. Maybe kind of
yeah.
talk about the metadata because I think it's a kind of cool story.
Yeah, sure. And it's actually almost the same thing that we're doing at my current company, Allview. But at Medidata, I joined there as the head of product. A similar product strategy to take, about 40 different products and bring them together under a unified platform. Um, Similar to Allview, I created an advisory board where we had clients look at this life cycle, in that case, it was the clinical trial life cycle and all the steps that need to happen. And they told us all of their pain points that they had across their entire technology landscape internally. They looked at all the market trends and everything that was going to impact them. And it really came down to the fact that there was too much data that they had, but they couldn't figure out how to bring it together to master it and to make sense out of it. They knew that my company had data rights and that means the ability to take client data and anonymize it, and then to create derivative products out of that or insights or benchmarks out of that.
Which is
And
which
so,
is which is the holy grail.
yeah, it's a
And
hard
it's
one to
very
achieve.
hard to get.
Yeah,
As you know,
yeah,
we did that when I was at Valen. We had the data right. It's so hard to get, and yet there's so much value for the customers, but they're
yeah,
so reticent to give it up. But when you have it, keep going. What can you do when
yeah.
you have it? It's amazing.
Well, so what the clients asked us to do was to use the data that we had to create predictive models. That was an area that was really important to them. In the clinical trial world, I think the statistic is something like maybe 8 or 9% of all clinical trials result in anything successful at all.
Oh
And a
my
trial
God.
could cost $1 billion or more. Like trials are really expensive. So at the time, we were really fortunate. We had a big team of data scientists. We had like 80 data scientists and engineers.
Nice.
Um, but they wanted us to take all the data that we had and the data that we had rights to in order to build predictive models for how do you structure the protocol for a trial and how can we help ramp up the recruitment of patients and where should we have the trial where the most patients with that likely type of disease would be able to make it into an office for testing, right? So we used AI to do a lot of that, but the clients wanted us to create these new analytical and scenario-based products, bespoke projects. You know, pharmaceutical company would come in, hey, can you do this? They would build an experiment, you know, build models, you know, figure out ways to give them answers. As a result of the SAB and the client pain points that they wanted us to solve, we figured out a way to bring data and analytics and our core products together. And so that was a big focus,
Mhm.
was really how do you merge uh, traditional workflow type products with analytics and use it to solve real high value client problems. So that's really been the big theme is figure out what the problem is that a
Mhm.
client needs, figure out technically how to solve, and then figure out how to monetize it. That's another huge
It's
critical part of AI right now
yeah.
is is for at least a software vendor like us. It's great to use AI to improve our stickiness, but ultimately we need to monetize it. So there's a lot that goes into doing that.
Yeah.
But that was really,
I
you
think
know,
a lot of
something.
companies are there right now. I think
Yeah,
efficiency's cool. All that stuff is actually incredibly valuable, but it's not driving the top line
yeah.
in terms of sellable products, right? And I think a lot
Yeah.
of companies are struggling with that right now.
Well, yeah, and as you were saying before, even to get to that point, you need to have good data.
Hmm.
And so what we realized is we wanted to monetize some of these scenario-based products and solutions that our clients like really wanted. We actually had to divert a lot of the data science team to data cleansing.
Data
You know,
engineering, data
just
cleanse, yeah.
pure, yeah. How do you take data out of products and out of data sets that were never designed for analytics? They were designed for workflow efficiency. So, you know, you run into lack of standards in terms of naming fields, and one client may dump some data into a field that it was never intended to be just because it's on that page in the product. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So as we analyzed the data, we tried to figure out how to standardize and normalize it. We found, if I remember it was something like 700 permutations of values for male and female,
Wow.
which is like, how's that possible? But that's the reality of the data and the
It's a
data
mess.
quality. And that's like everybody underestimates just the sheer volume of work it takes to get data into a state that you can put AI on top of it and not get garbage out of it.
Don't
You
you
know,
wish you had all these AI tools when you were at Medidata now that you
I
went
would have
through
loved it. I wish I had 80 data scientists at Allview, you know, but the tools are getting better and better, you know.
Yeah, they are.
But the other part is you know that often you underestimate is the effort it takes to make sure that permissions carry to the data field
Mhm.
level in an AI model as well. Like if Kirsten can see these accounts or these funds or these trials, in the product, there's rights and permissions, so you're governed pretty, you know,
Mhm.
tightly into what you can see. You got to figure out how to carry that forward into all of the data in your data warehouse so that AI also understands that and respects that. That's one of the things we're working through right now is that the complexity of the right-based access control models and permissions and everything. It's pretty complicated.
Still lots of opportunity for people in the data space
Oh yeah,
to come in and maybe to come in with this new realization that it doesn't have to take as long as it used to get to that monetization,
yeah,
event. So let's talk a little bit more about because I think this is such you hear about all the CEOs saying they're in the trough of disillusionment. There is no
yeah,
ROI from AI. This is a typical hype cycle stuff. This
yeah,
happens every single hype cycle.
yeah,
Yet here we are again. So I know that you've done a lot of work in terms of what is the playbook for monetizing AI where you are now, from pricing, how you run your customer advisory boards. I think even early adopter clients, you might call them lighthouse clients if
yeah,
they're
yeah, yeah,
and I think you maybe even threw in a little Shark Tank technique
Yeah.
in terms of those things. Let's talk about how you kind of pull that market intelligence together and then say, Here's how it is going to actually be monetized, priced, and brought to market."
Yeah. Sure, that's great. I mean, there's no way to shortcut normal, like, so I'm a chief product officer, so there's just, regardless of AI, there's processes you kind of go through to like
Mhm.
identify the problem, validate it, refine it, figure out how to quantify the value so you can build a pricing model. So that none of that changes with AI, right? But what we've been doing, what we find is a good, I'd say it's almost like a playbook for this, is start with the problem,
Mhm.
identify the persona, right? Who are you solving it for? Is it in all view, is it the CFO? Is it a fund accountant? Is it an operations person? Is it a trader? Whoever, right? You got to understand what the problem is. Um, it's also really important to then um, like have initial client interviews to really flesh out the pain and the idea. And what's great about AI now in my space is that you could literally have a client call, record it, transcribe it, feed it into an AI prototyping tool, and on the same phone call, literally pull up an app modeled based on the discussion that you and I are having, right? And that's a great way to get an initial read. Is so here's kind of what we're thinking. Here's an app. You literally could click through this prototype. And then what we've been doing is we'll refine the prototype. So we'll do multiple iterations with multiple clients and we'll continue to build it out. But we at least get a sense of the way we can solve the problem with AI, right? And I don't mean AI just the tool to build the prototypes, but literally these are AI use cases that we can solve using AI tools to solve AI use cases, you
But
know?
I want to just stop at something you said,
Sure.
because the fact that you can take customer feedback and spit it back out on a call versus, let's be real, the way we've all done it in a room, whiteboards, sticky notes, that then
Yeah.
all the flip chart paper that then somebody has to compile, and it's weeks before it gets back out to the customers and they're trying to remember what they said in the
Yeah.
room.
Yeah.
Just what you just said is game changing for
Yeah.
customer feedback and prototyping.
Yeah, it's like mind-boggling. And the tools are right there. You can use ChatGPT. We
Mhm.
use prototyping tools like Bolt,
Mhm.
Figma. Obviously, everybody in our product design world uses Figma, but like they're becoming AI-enabled tools now. So they make the process go from, weeks and months to minutes and hours and days, you know? But then so as far as monetization goes, we go through those cycles with clients. What we've done, and you said before, is we do have a strategic advisory board. It's about 50 clients. We we get them together as a group in person once a year. And what we did at our last meeting in October was we took all our best AI ideas and our data analytic ideas that we had been prototyping and we had been validating with clients. And we did a Shark Tank pitch where, five product managers got up there and true to Shark Tank, hello, sharks, I'm here to do this. Here's my idea. And we gave everybody coins, and each coin had a value and it had a meaning. One coin was $100,000 and it was a no-brainer strategic investment to make. And the smallest denomination was a $5,000 coin for interesting, but I'd look at that as exploratory work right now. And then we went through the pitches. We had then a place for everybody to put their investments, right, by product idea. And later, after we totaled it all up and we got a good sense of the value of the relative value of these initiatives to each other. But then we also did a pricing survey with the advisory board members where took a lot of pricing questions, put it together in a survey. We handed the survey out to everybody. We had prizes, of course, whoever did the most forms or, whoever completes a survey got a raffle ticket. And
Mhm.
then we had some great prizes that we gave away. But we got about 148 pricing surveys
Wow.
as well. And then we did a lot. We actually used AI to analyze the results and to graph
Mhm.
everything so we could visually see which product ideas not only at the macro level had the highest dollar investments from the advisory board, but what type of dollars were invested? Was it mostly strategic investments for this one? Was this one mostly exploratory? So it was really interesting to see get the perspective from the client. We knew the clients what segment they are in, whether they're, credit people or private equity people or
Mhm.
venture capital people. So we got a good sense of where they were coming from. And similarly with pricing, we were able to really refine pricing models where we asked clients what was a price too low, too high? What would you pay? What do you think is the right price? If
Yeah,
you
what's
look
your
at all,
methodology in asking them? Because, obviously they're like, I don't want to negotiate against myself. So what's the survey methodology to get that pricing
well, we
feedback?
yeah, every time we meet with them, we explain we know that you're clients, and of course you want the best deal, but you're also advising us
Mhm.
as a true strategic advisor for how we go to market. Right? So put your lens on as an advisor and not a client, right? So that's
And they
kind
can
of
do that?
yeah, they do they were great about it. And then we literally built a survey form and we just handed him out with a pen, did it the old-fashioned way. But they took the time and knowing that they were great prizes, they went through and did it for all of our
You
pitches.
gotta have the Oprah part, and you get a car, and you get a car.
Yeah. But then so that's like sort of step number one is
Mhm.
identifying the pain, getting the feedback, getting the validation, even pricing signals. But then the next thing we do is, as you mentioned as well, is lighthouse clients. So that's really important to us is making sure that we're going to go beyond a prototype now. We're going to commit dollars to build this product and take it to market. We need to know the people are willing to pay. So lighthouse clients are important to us because they're paying clients, but they're almost like co-development or co-innovation
They're
partners.
like beta customers and
Beta, yeah, like paying beta clients, yeah.
Mhm.
And the commitment is that you're going to shape this product further,
Mhm.
but bear with us because we will go through some iterations with you. So some cases we're in the lighthouse client stage for some of these ideas. In other cases, we've taken AI products to market and we're, selling them and we're building a nice pipeline. So again, we're in different stages with some of these ideas that we're working through. And then the final stage really is wider release. And it's, you know, you've got to be able to put some sort of telemetry into the product, right? How do you know people are using it? You got to measure it. How do you know how much they're using? Um, AI oftentimes is expensive, with using LLMs, there's tokens, you pay for tokens. There's an absolute cost to AI. So you can't give it away for free. At least I don't believe you should. But you need to know that too. You need to really measure that. So you've got to incorporate telemetry into the product. You've got to take the pricing and continue to validate it and see how you scale that pricing. How do you incorporate that pricing into your pricing models? That's another important consideration. Do you want to nickel and dime your clients with every new AI feature, or can you create a kind of a new base fee, an
More
incremental
of
new
a subscription approach,
subscription fee?
yeah,
Yeah.
versus than a
Yeah.
transaction fee.
Yep.
One of the things that I am really liking in what you're saying, and it applies both to the customers but also to the internal expectations that's implied in what you said. So lighthouse clients are great because they're paying beta customers, but they have the expectation that the product is going to be developed in front of their eyes. So
That's
when the
right.
first time they get it, they're not disappointed when it doesn't have this, that, or the
Yeah,
other.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
I would bet some of them are actually kind of curious to watch you guys do it because it's informative for them. Like it's actually kind
Yeah.
of cool professional development for them to see, how something, and of course then their stamp is on it so that they get to
Yeah.
influence the direction that you go. So that's really
Yeah.
cool expectation setting. The
Yeah.
other part of expectation setting that you said that is so important is the internal. We're going to
Mhm.
start with the price. It will be wrong.
Yeah.
We have no idea how this stuff is going to be wrong. Both the product will be wrong, the pricing will be wrong, the method, stuff will just be wrong,
And you're going to
and
iterate. You're
yeah,
going to iterate.
because
That's the big one is nobody has an
perfection.
answer. Yeah.
I interviewed my cousin who's a consultant. Perfection is the enemy of progress.
Yeah.
So what you're talking about is that exact principle in action. We're not going to be perfect. We're going to have progress. And guess what? Sales and everybody else and CFO, we're going to have to adjust this pricing as we go. So
Yeah.
whatever models we're building, make sure that spreadsheet's built in a way where you can toggle what we
Yeah, well,
do.
it's you bring up a great point with expectation because as you can imagine, most companies this time of year are either done with their annual budget for the following year or they're just wrapping it up. And let us know when's it going to be done and how much are we going to charge for it and when how much money are we going to make from this next year. It's really difficult to say.
Yeah,
It is really difficult to say. And so we've been fortunate in that we've set the expectation that we we could put some basic ideas and timelines together, but you can't put a hard number on any of this stuff right now because it's so iterative and it's evolving so quickly. So
requires great partnership between
it
finance
does.
and sales and product
Yeah, yeah,
to make that work because that is not the nature of I have to show up at a quarterly board meeting and say if I'm on track or not. I mean, this
yeah,
is not an easy thing for an executive team to come together
yeah,
and do, and yet it's probably the most critical thing to actually producing results that you can depend on over time. Because
yeah,
if you and you and I have both been in situations where you're forced to forecast
yeah,
and sign up for a number,
yeah,
and it is the wrong way to go about new innovation with something like AI.
yeah,
Because this is why we get into the trough of disillusionment. This is why the hype cycle
yeah,
has all the problems that it has, is because you try to be overconfident and stringent in terms of what it's going to produce by when, and
yeah,
that's just not the nature of massive transformation. And if anyone that wants to say AI is not massive transformation, this
yeah.
is some iterative technology improvement.
No, this is not. It's not honestly moving from on-prem to the cloud in many ways is more straightforward because it's
Yeah,
just using the software and logging in a
in a
different
different
place.
place.
Yeah, this is totally different. It's a totally different expectation. It's transformative, but it's every day there's a new development. It's just it's ironic because in some ways clients are like, well, that that should be table stakes with AI. And it's like
Mhm.
nothing's table stakes with AI. It
No.
should be, it's super easy to use it. It's
Mhm.
very complicated to make it work. Like
and,
it's a
and,
prompt
and a scaled product.
and accurately, right? I
Yeah.
mean, in financial services and in investments, you can't be off by a penny. You
No,
can't make a mistake. There's no
no,
room for hallucination,
no, this is a
right?
heavily regulated, high stakes
Yeah,
environment,
yeah,
right? And,
exactly.
and and a lot of people's money on the line. So,
Yeah,
if you're whatever kind of investment firm you are, there's a bunch of people counting on you to deliver. I mean,
totally.
there's just a
Yeah,
lot at stake between the people who invest in your funds, the management teams who believe that you're the great owner for their company,
yep,
that can deliver returns to the customers who need these companies to work. I mean, there's just a lot at stake.
yeah,
And I always say LLMs to me are not products, they're tools. You have to
yeah,
figure out how to create a product out of these tools, and that
yeah.
is it's brand new. What do you think though, Ivan, to drive what we just said, to get this kind of expectation level, this kind of agreement to pivot, to adjust? What are the leadership skills that a product leader needs to have in order to drive that kind of collaboration between finance, sales, um, and product, and obviously everyone, but those three really have to come together and be,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
I think
get
the
yeah.
probably the most important skill, I suppose, would be communication,
Mhm.
right? Because if it's clear to your executive team, your CFO, for instance, the state of things, the feedback from clients, the progress in terms of building things out, the challenges that you're going to run into. Could be adoption challenges, could be technical challenges, could be legal challenges. I mean, that alone is its own unique
Yeah.
space right now with AI. But I think first and foremost, it's communication, you know. One of the things that we did, which was really smart, was is when we held our advisory board meeting, we had some of the executive team in the room, including our CEO. And I think that like for him, it was really eye-opening because he could see the demand, he could see the client engagement and the value that we're going to be able to bring to market. And yet at the same time, you know that he could also sense and just talking to clients that like, yeah, it's going to take a little bit of time to refine it.
Yeah.
So I think that certainly helps, but also having, like a good
So
head of
communication, sorry, communication, but also make sure that the stakeholders that you need on board hear it firsthand.
yeah, I
And
think
you're
that's
not
probably very
constantly
helpful.
translating because they're like, well, yeah, I know you said that, but there's nothing that I have found more powerful than people hearing from customers directly.
Yeah. Yeah.
That seems to rally people to a truth
Yep.
versus, well, I talked to this customer, I talked to this customer, well, I surveyed a bunch of customers, whatever. Everybody has a customer piece, but if the right people are in the room and hear it direct,
Yeah.
whether it's a room or virtual, it doesn't really matter. But that's a golden thing that you just shared,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
don't try to get all the information yourself and then dole out what you think people. You just let everybody hear it. You're
Yeah.
going to be much more successful than if you try to curate what you want
I
everybody to
agree.
take away, right?
Yeah. 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 And it
You have to
only
be
takes,
bold and courageous to do that.
yeah, but it only takes a few client conversations because it's the same, more or less the same message from everybody.
Hmm.
Nobody's got a silver and solve these problems,
Yeah.
and nobody knows exactly where it's going to go. People definitely know that there's specific things that they could solve for with AI. And so it's really a matter of engaging with these clients and working together to bring it to market, in my opinion. But that's honestly a best practice for any product. So in many ways, it's also if you do things the right way, you'll have more success in launching and bringing a new product to market than if you don't talk to a client, think you know what you should do, just go ahead and build it and then try to launch it.
Hmm.
That very rarely works well.
Yeah.
So the more engaged you are with your clients, the more you communicate with your clients and your team, your executive team and your board,
Yeah.
uh, the better it'll be.
The board is another critical thing. They should,
Yeah.
and a lot of board members will come to, strategic planning sessions, whether it's
Yeah.
just internal or with clients. Also a good idea. Because a lot
Yeah.
of boards will have somebody who has operations experience, meaning they've worked in companies.
Yeah.
They're often a great ambassador back to the board,
Right.
to hear it direct.
Yeah. Well, and to that point, we had the same day that we had our in-person advisory board meeting, we had our first ever user conference, right?
Mm.
And we ended up getting about 200 clients there, but we had folks from our board as well. And the board members were interacting with our clients and our executive team interacting with clients.
So, so the next thing I want to ask you about is, okay, that's great. So now we have some understanding that some things are going to take more time than others. They're still going to be like, well, what can you do now?
Hmm.
That's still going to be. And
Yeah,
then when you say what you can do now, they're like, so can that happen faster? That's going to be always the case.
yeah.
What use cases with AI do you see having traction more near term? Like, here's a place to start while some of this stuff has to bake a little bit.
Yeah. The first one, the one we've started selling is it's AI enabled data extraction from documents. And so you can imagine in our world, so much data is in spreadsheets, right? Um, but the challenge is that the generic Gen AI technology is not good at understanding every piece of data and extracting it with 100% accuracy and then implementing or ingesting it and fitting it into a structure that the way our clients want to look at their financials. So for example, if you're a private equity company, you have many portfolio companies. Every quarter they have to report their financials.
Mhm.
They all send their data in one way, shape, or form. Maybe they all use the same template. Some may use PowerPoint, some may use an Excel file, some may use a PDF. So you get the structured data, lots of different formats. One company may look at their financials one way, another may look at it a slightly different way. So there's no AI off-the-shelf solution that just extracts that data and instantly maps it properly to a template. So what we've been doing is working with some partners who specialize in financial documents, specifically in alternative investments. And we've been working to integrate their technology into our product workflow. So that's a really easy, like low-hanging fruit kind of thing. The second use case is insights, and that is basically using AI to interrogate your data, right? Show me all, or tell me about all my portfolio companies in Europe that look like this or are getting this type of result, and then pull back the result, and then I want to further dig down into the details just using prompts. So that's insights. That's a use case where we have to have the data in our data platform in a way that we can have a standard query. We have to train AI for a very specific set of use cases right now, what's within the guardrails, and train the model, so to speak. You've got to be able to make sure that AI knows what's a proper question to be solved and what is something not to touch, and when to say, Kirsten, I can't help you with that one. But you could go over here to get that answer
Mhm.
because it can't hallucinate. Like nothing can be wrong.
Yeah.
So you've got to draw a box around what it is you want AI to interrogate and to visualize and to allow you to dig deeper into. The third is what we call agentic workflows. So that is really using AI to automate complex processes. And in our world, we're using it first for a capital call process, which is it's a pretty complicated workflow. It's where, basically, a GP goes out and calls on all the LPs who have committed capital, and you say, "Hey, I'm ready to get that investment, bring it in."
Yeah. I'm interested in your perspective. I think the promise of agentic AI is still very much in its early phases.
Mhm.
That it's really much more workflow that's ready for prime time,
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
promise of it truly being able to mimic a human to me is still a
It's not
promise.
there yet.
It's a
It's not
promise
there yet.
still. Yeah.
But with agentic workflow, what you're doing is you're sort of stitching together what Gen AI does well with business rules, really.
Yeah, and hardcore automation. Like, yeah,
Hardcore automation, yeah. And then as you bring something like this to market, you've got to have human in the loop in your design, right?
you
You
do.
can execute part of the process. You need to show every step of the way what was done and what was the result. And you need to be able to say, "Hey, Kirsten, I've completed this step. Do you want to review it and approve it?" You really can't let the machine do it, completely on its own. So it's also changing the design of software and how humans interact with software as well.
So if I am to make sure we've got all your highlights, I love that we started this conversation on data
Hmm.
because you've got to figure out how to invest in data, but the key to that is being really bold on monetizing AI. And
Hmm.
I don't think this is like the internet or social media. Those business models were get users first, monetize later. I think we're well
Yeah.
past that. You got to monetize at the beginning. And
Yeah.
your initial salvo is the data cleansing and the data
Mhm.
governance that needs to be put in place. So that is the bet you got to make pre-monetization, if you will, but it can happen a lot faster than it used to,
Yeah. Hmm.
and bring your customers in, bring
Yep.
your other stakeholders in,
Yep.
and have a really rational approach to what is going to be a little bit longer term on the product roadmap, which is much faster than it used to be. And then what are those near term use cases, which I think a lot of companies are looking at things like document processing, agentic
Mhm.
workflows.
Yeah.
That I see those patterns across.
Yeah.
Um, and nothing replaces good communication and good leadership, and good product discipline, and same with marketing discipline and sales
Yeah.
discipline.
Yeah.
Like, don't give up the fundamentals of business for this,
Exactly. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What else did I miss in kind of all the things that we talked about when you want to make sure everyone walks away with?
I really can't think of anything. I think this is really good discussion. Yeah, it was a lot
Yeah,
of fun. I
yeah.
think we hit on everything that I've learned you've tapped into, I think for the most part. So it was
Good.
good. It was really good. It was a lot of fun.
Good. Well, for the audience, comment as always, and be part of the community. And Ivan, it's just a real honor to have you on. And of course, you know how much I love working with you, and just nice to spend the hour or so here today together. So
Yeah.
it's just really fun for me too.
Yeah. It's a blast.
Yeah,
Thanks for doing it. Appreciate being on your podcast.
yeah, you bet. And everyone, we'll see you on the next episode.